Good morning, I'm Pastor Allen, and today is Wednesday, July 29th, and we are looking at Matthew chapter 17, and that passage deals what is known as the Transfiguration. It is also found in Luke's Gospel, chapter 9, and Mark's Gospel, chapter 9. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell face down on the ground, terrified. But Jesus came and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one except for Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The disciples asked him, "Why then do the teachers of the law say Elijah must come first?" Jesus replied, "To be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but have done to him everything they wished. In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands." Then the disciples understood that he was talking to them about John the Baptist. This is pretty amazing, because they're up on the mountain, and Jesus is talking to Moses and Elijah. Moses represents the law. Elijah represents the prophets. Moses is the great lawgiver. Elijah is the greatest prophet. But now, one greater than them is here, and that's Jesus himself. He's greater than the law because he gave us the law, and he is greater than the prophet because he knows all things. And so the disciples are surprised by this. They're baffled by this. And there's a sense of wonderment. And Peter wanted to set up 3 shelters to stay there. This was a good experience. This was a good thing to see. And so they wanted to stay there. But unfortunately, that's not what we're to do, and that's not why Jesus came. And they were told, "Don't say anything about this until after I have risen from the dead." And then the disciples asked, "Well, why then did the teachers of the law say Elijah must come first?" Which was the teaching from the scholars and the religious leaders. And Jesus said, "To be sure, Elijah comes first." And that was John the Baptist. He came to announce that Jesus was coming, that the Messiah was coming, but they didn't recognize him. And at the same time, they abused John the Baptist and eventually killed him. And Jesus was telling them again that eventually I am going to the cross and I will be crucified. And at this point, it seems the disciples are starting to get what Jesus is telling them. And again, we're lucky. We're on the backside of this, so we see what history, we see what has happened. to Jesus. So we know the words he spoke about led to his trial, his crucifixion, his death on the cross. And we celebrate Easter every year, celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. So remember, things happen in the Bible. We're not sure about them. We don't always understand them. But if Jesus says something is going to happen, or this is what's going to take place, then we can guarantee our lives on it. And I hope that you are doing so. Have a great Wednesday. Talk to you tomorrow.